ago in 2006, with Lynn Byfield, I hosted the Calgary Congress, and we brought in speakers from all over Canada. One stuck with me, and this was Peter Hawley, who was he's with the Frontier Centre for Public Policy in Manitoba. He talked at the time about how dysfunctional the equalization system is, that we actually reward provinces for having tax systems that are completely out of whack. The higher their tax rates are, the more punitive it is on their own tax base, but the more they qualify for federal equalization. He also talked about how his province of Manitoba has this great resource in Manitoba Hydro, but they don't charge market rates to consumers. They actually subsidize the cost of electricity, and then they don't make enough revenue, and then again they turn around and ask for transfer payments from Ottawa. What he was saying is we should end the equalization program. And this the way he proposed doing it at the time was simply to just transfer over the GST and allow the provinces to have authority and the revenue source to be able to take care of their own business. And I think it would be a lot more functional if we could do that. Now, I'm not saying we can actually accomplish that. That's something that's in the Constitution, and we do have to negotiate it. But it is something that we could be advancing in Alberta, because with $16 billion more going to Ottawa than we get back in transfer payments, it's certainly not a system that's working for us. On the issue of gun control, all I'd say is that the first step is appointing a chief firearms officer in Alberta that is friendly to our firearms owners, that will work with them to be able to be in compliance with the regulation. We also have to look at compensation. There is a huge number of firearms that are being taken under amnesty that are not being compensated, and some of these guns are worth thousands and thousands of dollars. We need to look at that. The last point I'd make is we can also get property rights in the Constitution. All we have to do is pass a motion saying that we would add property rights to Section 7, also add a provision that we would have compensation in the event that private property is taken. It would obligate every other province to consider that motion. I think we've got to get started.
Won't be taken.
It doesn't need to be as restrictive as it is. I say, anyhow, I'm losing it. I'm going to leave this one alone.
Wow.
Hey guys, I'm going to bundle a few into one because we're getting a lot about the same sort of thing here. So I'll give a bit of a flavor on what they're all on. Danielle's first. These are all on the royalty review. How we restore the Alberta Advantage, how we attract back energy into Alberta, what we do to repair the damage done by the royalty review and outcome.
Just to go back, though, to the person who was making the case about the registry, I completely sympathize, but we have to remember what we can do at the provincial level. It's a federal registry. We could challenge it again, and I'd be open to challenging it again. But at the moment, the best that we can do is to provide some protection for our firearms owners by at least having a friendly firearms officer in place. On the royalty review, such an important issue. Let me just tell you a couple of stories that encapsulates just how crazy the royalty review is. I talked with one junior company who was saying he's not even going to try to raise money to do business in Alberta. He was trying to raise money to do some business and drilling in Saskatchewan. He went and talked to his New York financiers, and they said, you know what, I don't know enough about Saskatchewan, but doesn't have as unstable a political climate as Alberta has. That's the reputation we now have. I can also tell you I've talked to 6 or 7 companies that have their engineers now working on ways to slow down production out of wells so that they can be bumped into a lower royalty category, because you get a benefit if you have less production in that well. Rather than working on ways to be more productive, they're working on ways to be less productive. And then when they came through this with this patch program to bring through a drilling incentive, so you could get an incentive of $200 per meter that you drill. Well, they announced that in February. They didn't put it in April. So one company said, well, we've already drilled 2,700 meters. Let's just stop, wait for the policy to come into place, drill those remaining 300 meters and claim the credit for all 3,000 meters. This is the chaos that this government has created with this royalty framework. I think that we have to do a couple of things. We either have to go back 100% to the royalty framework that we had before the new royalty framework came in. But very least, we have to work with the industry to find out where the top margin is. They cannot make money if the government is taking 50% right off the top as soon as gas hits $6 an MCF. That's a real problem. It's one of the most punitive systems that we have in the province right now, and it's got to be fixed.
If I could, I would reverse everything that Pierre Trudeau ever did. And I would work towards that end. And I'd like to undo everything that Ed Stelmach has done, and again, go back to the penny on the dollar. That worked for big business, it worked for small business, and it worked for all Albertans. And it wasn't a bad system, and it didn't have to be messed with for political reasons.
Well, you know, I can't leave that last question alone when I realize I didn't tell you where I stand on equalization. First off, we don't have to re-sign it the way it is the next time it comes up. And also, in trying to shrink the bureaucracy, would not start a new bureaucracy by having a registration start up in Alberta for gun owners. So even though there might be some protections there, the truth is Ontario would use it against us. So I would not start a new bureaucracy in Alberta on that. But on the issue of royalty, if we were in power immediately after Ed Stelmach, did that, we probably could have gotten away with just saying we're going to go back to exactly how it is under Klein. And that would have been reasonable. But what matters is there needs to be stability. They need to know whatever we change it back to, that it's fair and will be there for the next 20, 25 or longer years. And also, I remember when the new framework came out, there was some rumblings even that they might have to change it as oil was hitting near $150 US a barrel. And so they were even considering changes right after changing it. So we need to go back probably to where it was under Klein. But just like I said with agriculture, it needs to be done with consultation. And consultation with people active in the industry that understand today's expenses. Because the government, the PC government, will always put someone in front of you that they will try to sell as an expert. And in this case, they put someone in front of us that didn't know what today's expenses were, but knew what life was like a long time ago when he made lots of money in oil. So that's my answer on that.